Greet you all students of MA Final. This is paper 4th unit C. After the completion of Nissim Askil and R. Parthasarthi's poetry, now we would start A K Ramanujan's poetry. Attipatt Krishna Swami Ramanujan is one of the most talented, eminent poets in the whole range of Indian English poetry. And his time period, students, mind you, 1929 to 1993. So these contemporary poets, and from the point of view of examination, I mean, you must comprehend the significant pivotal point that there are some common similar characteristic features among these poets. At the same time, we have some kind of differences also, I mean, contrast also. So, from that point of view, it is quite important to delve deep the important elements, features, aspects in these eminent poets. So, in this series, Attipatt Krishna Swami Ramanujan is really a well known Indian English poet prescribed in your syllabus. And his eminence as a poet as well as linguist, his remarkable mastery over structure, syntax, morphology, and semantics. So his, reputation as a talented poet as well as a linguist. And also, he has his passion for teaching also, English language teaching. So, and he was also called an expatriate. So, students, here, at Indiana University of USA, he was a Fulbright scholar, 1960 or 62 here. And here he was called expatriate. Now, what is the meaning? Because A K Ramanujan as an Indian expatriate in USA. So the meaning of expatriate is someone who lives in the other country and does not stay in his or her own country for a certain period. And here, see the difference among these poets. Say Nissim Askil or R. Parthasarthi, they also stayed abroad. I mean, England and other countries. But A.K. Ramanujan, and for certain period only, I mean, R. Parthasarthi, he stayed, as he mentioned in his famous collection, Exile from Rough Passage, he stayed in England for certain period, I mean, short period of time. But A.K. Ramanujan, he stayed there for 2 decades. Okay, so as an Indian expatriate, so he was called Indian expatriate because he stayed there in USA, and he hails from Mysore, from Madras, and language fellow, and he was also language fellow at Deccan College, Pune. Okay, in which year? 1958 to 59. And in Indiana University, University in of USA, yes, he was Fulbright scholar, as I have just mentioned this point. I mean, he was so talented. Can you believe that at the age of 17, he started writing poems, and very nice poems, and 2 famous, later on, so many poems published in these volumes. I mean, he became popular, particularly for writing two volumes, The Striders and Relations. So here, the poems prescribed in your syllabus. We have four poems prescribed in your syllabus. Uh, Looking for a cousin on a swing, a river, and love poem for a wife, part one, and obituary. So this is, just have a look, biographical sketch of the poet. You must have idea about that he hails from which place? Yes, Mysore, Madras. And the significant point is that he was well versed. He got tremendous mastery over, say, Kannada, Tamil, and English language. So he composed poem in all the three languages. Okay, and his real interest in Tamil and Kannada poetry. He wrote poetry in all these three languages. And he was also lecturer in English at the University of Belgaum and also Baroda. So see, here a language fellow at Deccan College, Pune, and then he shifted to this Baroda, these University of Belgaum. So he himself points out in some autobiographical comments. He himself has pointed out it, and that he was on advantageous ground, that he got opportunity to visit different places. His mobility, this was in a way plus point for him, as he himself mentioned. He himself focused this point, that you see different places, and he hails from Madras, and Mysore, and then he stayed in Pune, and then he shifted for a certain period in Belgaum, and then Baroda again. So different, and then yes, he went to, say, USA, and in this university, Indiana, there he was Fulbright, very talented person, Fulbright scholarship. It is really particularly for the talented students. So this was his really great achievement at that time. It's just that at tender age. And then, he was a professor of English later on, and English there in the University of Chicago. This is also very important. So, and at the Department of some Asian languages, see, students, you must have this knowledge that in such university abroad, and you say in USA or Chicago, over there, there is an entire department of this Asian languages, including, say, Tamil, Kannada, and different languages, and say Hindi, and all these languages were there. So A.K. Ramanujan, he himself mentioned, he averred that he enjoyed over there. And what was the reason? Because he learned about India there in Chicago more than in his own country. So this is, see, the very rich department of Asian languages. Okay, so this much of biographical sketch you must have idea. And see, his poetic collection. So far as poetic collection is concerned, we have two volumes of Ramanujan, The Striders, and this was say published in 1966 on Oxford University Press, and second publication Relations 1972, again Oxford University Press. And say his various experiences at Indiana University, USA. He and he pointed out, and he covered certain points even in his poems. So first he studied linguistics on Fulbright scholar, as I just mentioned, over there, and he could learn more about India in USA. So this is, I think, very important point, and that he was professor of Dravidian Studies, okay, Department of South Asian Languages. Okay, what was this is the exact department, South Asian and Languages and Civilizations, and he really learned a lot. I mean, immensely he learned and enjoyed immensely teaching linguistics and morphology and syntax and structuralism, okay, and communication skills also. And students, you just have a look. This is his his famous expression there, it's in which he says that the department has taught me more about India living here in Chicago. See, this is just have a look certain important points about his publications, okay, and see the expatriate, this concept. The students at MA level, you must know, you must comprehend this. His stay, okay, there in USA. And I mean, see, there is positive aspect about when we make comparison among these poets. There is no sense of alienation over. He rather, A.K. Ramanujan, see, this is the difference. He himself, laid emphasis on the point that shaping his persona. So his stay in, say, USA, Chicago, particularly in these countries, this, sharpened his mind and his, say, his way of expression. So he, in a way, he himself, pointed out this. This is, I mean, that time period was very important for him. Rather it nourished that period. He did not say that, oh, that feeling of alienation over there and all that. That kind of, element, it is absent in his poems. Rather, he enjoyed and see the positive aspect, and his optimism is reflected. This, you try to comprehend the point that this, what was the name of the department? Yes, this is Dravidian Studies and Department of South Asian Languages. So he sees exact his famous expression in which he credit goes to that particular university in Chicago, that that he learned more about say Indian languages and the culture over there, rich cultural heritage, and that he could not learn even in India. So this optimism is really noteworthy, and this really, it when he started writing poetry at tender age, and then see the different experiences, how the shaping the persona of A.K. Ramanujan. So obviously his stay in different places, as he his development of personality when he visits different places, and he was lecturer over there even in Baroda University, Belgaum University. So this, I mean, this is very important. When you study his poems, you must have idea about the shaping the persona of A.K. Ramanujan is also very important. I mean, so here, then his views on poetry, as two famous volumes, and in which the metaphor of family is very important. The focus has been on the family relations, but before commencing his poems, you should delve deep on his views on poetry, okay, the art of poetry. And he has given vision and direction to Indian English poetry. As a talented poet, as an eminent poet, and his achievement because of his diligence and his strenuous endeavors, when he has passion for writing poetry. So students of MA, I mean MA level, this must be quite source of inspiration for you when you study his views on the art of poetry, and his established potential as a great poet who has given new direction and say the vision and we see the kind of, and as an eminence linguist also. I mean, this is also, I mean, something additional about AK Ramanujan as a linguist. And his passion for teaching even language to the learners, to young aspirants. And his innovative way of say applying, implementing some approaches, methods, so that English classroom can be more dynamic and productive and meaningful. Students, they must grasp the language. The real learning focuses always on student oriented uh, classrooms and teaching, all that. I mean, student oriented. This must be task based and all that. I mean, that innovative way of teaching English as a second language. So this is, I mean, very important as a linguist, an eminent linguist. And there is influence of linguistics on his poetry. So this is the point, even in on his poetry, influence of that. And say when we discuss his views on the art of poetry. So art of poetry, as some common, as in the beginning I mentioned this point, that some common elements, features, and characteristic features in the poetry of Nissim Askill's are Parthasarathi. And that common feature is, expression of human sensibility. Yes. Even in A.K. Ramanujan's poetry, he has of this is he expressed in his works that poetry, in a way, it is an expression of sensibility. So this is, see, and sensibility in a way which blend of poetic experience as well as practical poetic. I mean, this is some kind of integration between the two. So here, see, have a look his views on poetry, A.K. Ramanujan. So this is Indian sensibility. I mean, this is the different cultures, and see this is we have in a way cultural ethos, rich cultural heritage of say Dravidian literature, Tamil literature, and all that, and I mean culture. And he himself, right? See, so the fusion. The point is here. The focus is on the fusion of that, fusion of Indian and American literature and culture. Yes. So he himself, writes. It is autobiographical element that English and disciplines, for instance, linguist and anthropology. He himself, avers this. English and disciplines, these disciplines give me my out form. Yes, outer forms. So shaping the personality of A.K. Ramanujan. And it plays vital role. So the fusion of American, Indian, and English. He really appreciates his love for English language and also Indian language. So this kind of positive bent of mind, positive dynamism is very important. Linguist, and then he his words, his views. See the autobiographical, his own expression. See from his say some of his introductory part of his famous volumes, that his love for the and outer form and linguistics and metrical and logical and other such ways of shaping experience. Okay, so this is, I think, very important to delve deep the A.K. Ramanujan's poetry. So fusion in a way, so shaping experience. Now what is that? This is the fusion, integration of various cultures and cultures, languages as a whole, for poetic aesthetic experience. Now, poetic and aesthetic experience in which we have humanitarian approach, or say some kind of what is happening in the society, and you have the feeling of empathy for others, and so different dimensions, and it tends to cover again social, cultural, geographical, spiritual, religious, political, different aspects of human life. So in a way it is aesthetic experience, and at the same time poetic excellence as well. So the combination all these languages, is that clear? Tamil, Kannada, English language, and all these cultures as well, culture as well as language. Okay. And the point that I mentioned earlier, about his eminence as a linguist. So, from that point of view, students, again, you must you must comprehend the point, the importance of words. He has focused the huge selection of words, and I think again it has great universal appeal. And for young aspirants like you, students of MA, you should also know when you write your answer, even when you say you are interested in composing a poem, if you have a special bent of mind for creative writing, at that time see the selection of word. This is what exactly AK Ramanujan as a linguist, okay, he has laid emphasis on this point. And what was that point? Importance of words. And his view that poetry intensifies words, the use of words, its meaning, in-depth notions, connotations, interpretations. So poetry, credit goes to poetry. Yes, this is the importance of poetry. And poet as a specialist. Okay, a specialist, for instance, in different fields. The person who paints very well, obviously an artist, painter, and different domains we have, a specialist particularly in the architecture, specialist in that, different fields we have. Likewise, poet is a specialist of humanitarian approach. So this point, students, importance of words, we just have a look AK Ramanujan's views on that importance of words, okay, as a linguist. From the point of view of examination, these are very important points. Art of poetry and poet as a specialist. You can quote this when you write your answer in examination and say poetry, and yes, it intensifies words. Now, his established when we discussed earlier this point, great poet, and who has given direction to it, this point that we discussed earlier. But here actually I want to focus his view, AK Raman's views on the, yes, the importance of the use and selection of words and phrases. See, three important points: words, phrases, and to sing. Yes. So there is, close connectivity between the meaning and word. I mean, the meaning. So, for instance, he points out that poetry is made of words, but word here, they are like the paint, gestures. Say, if you perceive a river or a tree, it is a word. Or at the same time, as if you paint it, or some image, or it is again a gesture also. So, non-verbal things, this is the crux of that here, particular this point. Okay, as he says that as you use in the plastic arts also, even in performing art, in theatrical skills also. So word power is very important. So words, see, these are very important points, students, mind you. Words are like objects. This is, these are very important views of A.K. Ramanujan. Words are like objects, and this is, peculiarity about him. you may not find in other poets this, because his eminence as a linguist, as I pointed out in the beginning. Okay, that's why words are like objects, and they are some kind of reality, and they are really very intense and creative, and they have sounds. Yes, see, if you look at mountain, or say sometimes some poor child, some sound is there. Even so, there is paradox. Even that child is not speaking, he's so hungry, so some kind of voice is there. Okay, so see the in-depth emotions, in-depth feelings, and in-depth, yes, connotations, sounds and look. Okay, so this is the point. So use it something new and innocent. Innocence is there. The words use of language, and language is like perception. These are points. Have you got it, the point? And it acquires quality of experience. See, if you write a poem, you compose a poem, some kind of qualitative experience, qualitative expression. Okay, so you must comprehend this point. So it becomes aesthetic. If it is say associated with the qualitative aspect, then only it can be poetic as well as aesthetic experience. So you are, see, if when and you as a whole, I mean, all these important aspects, they are reflected in poetry as a whole. And see, very interesting point he has pointed out, that you are the first reader. When you say compose a poem, you are the first reader. So the poems prescribed in your syllabus, when you study, you would have better understanding. Now another point here I would like to mention here. See, the theme, I mean, then next point, I mean, the theme of that, okay. We must also here discuss the theme. And 4 poems prescribed syllabus, as I mentioned in the beginning. So now the theme, family as the chief metaphor. Okay, so this is the point here, family as the chief man, and familial relations. And even in Parth Sarthi's and Nissim Askil, some common issues we have. But the difference is that in A.K. Ramanujan, try to understand, students, that there is no such feeling of alienation and expatriate, though he is called expatriate in USA. So you must know this, that this kind of feeling is absent, as we discussed earlier, that in quite dominating factor in R. Parthasarathi and Nizam Askel. Okay, so here A.K. Ramanujan's long stay in USA for 2 decades, and so this is the kind of we have some similarities. I mean, when we make comparisons, so this is contrast, and craving for Indianness is the very, very important. Okay, this is common in all these poets. And what's that? Yes, craving for Indianness, Indian culture, and this common issue in them. And the contrast is that the feeling of alienation is absent here. Rather, he enjoyed over there. See, he learning from the different kind of experiences over there, and sharpening his mind and shaping the personality of A.K. Ramanujan. Obviously, in India, at the same time in USA also. This is what he points out. He himself has pointed out. So the theme, and we'll discuss in much detail about the theme. But the title of these 2 volumes, they are suggestive. and the theme familial relations. So the poems prescribed in your syllabus, mind you, students, these four poems, the poems in which, yes, the poems first, a river, and also the river and obituary also. I mean, both kind of poems. We have some positive and negative. I mean, the life is the combination of the two. So that expression of reality, okay, will continue. Thank you.